Uh, Vivek, change the change the scene in like 5 seconds. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and change. A very good evening to everyone present here. Welcome to Winter School conducted by GDSC and IT Andhra Pradesh. Today, we are back with another exciting special.
Our
We are
speaker,
back with another exciting speaker session.
our speaker session is a our speaker today is a final year student pursuing computer science and engineering and is a public speaker. She is also a UX researcher at Let's Tunch, which is a startup company in Dubai and has experience as a developer intern at IIT Madras and Huawei Technologies. Please welcome Shruthi P G.
Thank you. Thank you, Ananya. That was such a sweet introduction. So, hello everyone. Hi. Myself, I am Shruthi P G. Like said, I am in my final year pursuing computer science and engineering. So, first of all, I would like to thank GDSC NIT Andhra Pradesh, not only for giving me this opportunity, but also for conducting winter school, because trust me, like that's gonna help a lot of people out there. I wish I had, you know, things like this when I was in my school. So, kudos to you guys. You're doing great. And yes, before going to the section, um see, I might look like I just got out of bed, okay? But trust me, I just completed my examination, so that will be there, okay? The sleep deprivation, like even as a developer, that will be there. So trust me when I say I'm so excited for this, and thank you for everyone who has joined, and thank you for everyone who's watching this. So let me just quickly share my screen. Cool. All right. So, for today's session at Winter School, I have chosen the topic tech study methodology and web development pathway. Talking about even web development pathway, it's just the roadmap, right? So, this session is especially useful for those who are just starting out with web development, who do not have any idea or have just a very minimal idea about web development, and but they're interested, right? They're interested to join, they're interested to learn, they're interested to know what the hype is. So this session, I'm pretty sure this will be useful for all of you. And talking about the tech study methodology, this I think in general it will be useful for all of us because we relate to it. It's not just when it comes to technical kind of a study. We study, we learn everywhere, learn all the time. So what are the effective ways of learning? What are the effective ways you can implement in order to upskill yourself, or in order to make yourself an expertise in web development or any other engineering development path? I think this will be useful for all of you guys. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, the first thing. So we have all heard about study methodologies. Like yes, we have all heard about study technologies. When we opened YouTube, like I think since last couple of years, especially if you are a student, you would have heard about few techniques to improve your studies. It will be like 0 to 100, or it will be like just get 80% marks with one night preparation, which might be true because hopefully that could be the truth, because that's how I'm doing, and that's how many of us are doing. So we always hear this study technologies everywhere, but what is tech study methodology, right? It's not just study methodology. You're gonna implement these kind of techniques, or what kind of techniques when you are learning a technological stack. See, okay, before going to tech study methodologies, just talking about the study methodology, study techniques, what comes to your mind? What all techniques comes to your mind? You don't have to answer me. I mean, I definitely can't see you, but you will have like few things in your mind, right? I'll just shift to the next slide and you can see that. Have you heard about at least one of these? I think you might have, because the first one, there is this YouTube video with very attractive thumbnail, and everybody is, attracted to it, and we are excited, we are curious to know what it is, right? So all these things, mind mapping, 820 rule, all these are study techniques. We call it study techniques. But if you take a step back and if you think about it, these are actually for your academic study, right? These are not for these cannot be implemented in any other things. For example, like if you want to play chess, obviously you can't implement these kind of techniques there. So just like that, academic is one part, but learning web development or learning any technological stack is another part. So you need a separate study technique for that. These can be useful, for example, mind mapping, all that can be useful. 820 80/20 rules, like especially if you are a student from engineering or if you have CS as your major, if you follow this, it's going to be difficult for us to learn the foundation. So keeping all this aside, right, now coming to the tech study, the three rules. I wouldn't call it rules. Let's just call it steps, because that is what it is. So we have a specific study technique or study step that we are following, uh, that we could follow when we are learning a tech stack, right? The first thing is obviously going to be tutorials. I know, like I'm pretty sure most of you, let's say 99% of you, can relate to this. When you are interested in tech stack, what do? You immediately go to Google or immediately go to YouTube. You just type in like how to learn Python, or if when we are talking about web development, you're gonna type like how to create so and so kind of a thing on front end and things like that. So everything, I personally think these days, all of us, we start with the tutorials. We start with the visual representation, because as human beings, we are, I would say, yeah, I wouldn't say like, controlled, but yes, as human beings, we grew up in classroom, right? Especially we Indians, we grew up in classroom. We grew up hearing what the teacher used to say, learning from them. And we did not stop there. We went for tuitions, we went for coaching classes, we went for special classes. So majority of our life, it when we are thinking about it, it's all in a classroom, right? So as we are used to that, I think we are much more familiar with tutorials, and it will be a very great start to get into any kind of thing. It could be data structures too, it could be web development, it could be app development. Starting with tutorials is good, but that's only for the starting with tutorials. If you want to upskill yourself, if you want to become an expertise, documentation. So what is documentation exactly, right? So let's say you want to learn Python. Okay, you want to learn Python. You go to Google, you type Python. So there's this website of Python, right? You go inside, all you do is install it, right? You install the packages if wanted. You just see over there, and then you come back. Like, I don't think many of the people go there and read the documentation. So that is, I think, one mistake, initial mistake at least, that most of us do, especially students, because we feel bored of those contents. So that is also a reason. But just watching tutorials, I think that's not going to help you in the long run. It will be a initial start, it will be a motivating factor. Those tutorials even might have the GitHub link to that particular project or that particular web page, right? And you go there, you clone it, you implement it, it looks all exciting to you. But how do you actually develop it, right? You developing it. So I think it really starts with documentation. Okay. So, Shruti, you spoke about tutorials, you spoke about documentation. Is it all enough? Am I a good developer now? No. I think the third and most important rule is practice. So you watch a tutorial. Okay, let's say you watch it for 24 hours straight. right? Good, 24 hours straight. I don't think any human can do it, but if you're doing it, great, kudos to you. So you go to documentation, you sit for 2 days and you read all that. Now, do you think you are a good developer? No, because you haven't even developed anything. You have just consumed the information, it's in your brain, but that information is just going to get out very easily, pretty soon, probably the very next day, right? So, I mean, if you're a human who can read for 24 hours, then maybe you can keep it in your brain for 2 days, but I don't know. For me, 1 hour is the max, right? So just watching it, just reading it, I don't think that's going to help. So that is a very very wrong studies technique that many of the people even does, like even till today, because I see people around me doing that. That is not right. You have to implement it. Let's say you're watching a tutorial like how to create a button. You immediately go to your laptop, like you go to your laptop, you open whatever softwares you're using, you open there, for example VS Code. You open it, you type all the things that they're telling you, and you create a button. So that is how you can actually kind of get started. Now coming to documentation, you go to their page, you see for example, like if you want to append or let's say add some things, right? You go there, you see all that, you see syntaxes. So now you don't have a structured code, but you have syntax. So try to make use of that, take that syntax, put it in your website or in your web page, see how it works. You will definitely get errors, but keep trying. So this practice by watching tutorials, reading the documentation and implementing it, I think this is the OG, or the foundation of even starting with development. Okay, or anything data structures. Even if you want to learn GitHub, I think implementing it, like just testing it out, seeing how it works, that is a very efficient way of doing it. And now, is that all enough? Right? No. Consistency. Let's say you watched the video for 1 day, the next day you implemented it, and that's it, you're done with it. So now you might be thinking, I'm talking this right now because for those of you who are in the initial stage, right? You are in the initial stage right now. For you, if you think that is enough, no, that's not gonna help. Okay, academic, it is like academic study. So that technique is like academic study. You learn something, you write the exam and you leave it over there. That's it. So it is like that. But it doesn't work like that. Okay, when it comes to development, it doesn't work like that. So you have to be consistent, and there's no compromise in that. All right, you have to be consistent. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to sit for 24 hours 1 day and learn something, and you don't have to do that like every single day. That is not, by consistency I'm not meaning that. If you're just going to sit for 1 hour per day dedicated to this, I think then it will be all good. So always make sure you have it. So now you might ask me like, Shruti, okay, I did all that, I did everything that you told me. So, am I still going to become a good developer? Like, am I going to remember these things, in the long run? If I ask that even to myself, this would be me. Because trust me when I say, I learned something, right? Like, just adding a button, for example, I learned that. I've implemented it. I've implemented it multiple times. So, if you ask me, probably like the next month, I'm gonna forget even a little part of it, or even the whole thing, right? Maybe the syntax, or maybe where you should put it, things like that. I mean, not the button. I don't. I still remember how to do that, but I'm talking in a very broad manner, right? So the things that you learn, there's a very high percent chance that you forget it. So now you have spent all this time into something. Yeah, you have spent all this time into implementing that, and then you forgetting it. So it's definitely you. I don't know. This is me. Okay, I will be dead inside. So each time when I'm developing things and when I don't remember something that I've spent so much time on, where I've spent or I've invested so much of my effort and time, I'll feel like I'm dead inside. And this, it is going to happen to you, probably to all of you, right? I mean, there are exceptional cases, those who can study for 24 hours, but this could happen for all of you. And you will eventually someday get to this stage, right? Let's say you finally got an internship, you're working on it, and you know you know the concept, but then you can't seem to get it. And then what happens is you get demotivated. You're like, today sucks, and then you just close the laptop and you go. So this demotivation factor, this again plays a very key role in a developer's life, because let's say you forget it, like it's okay, you are a human only, so you forget it, and y- you can again recollect it, right? You can go back, you can always go back and recollect it. And so instead of getting demotivated, though this will happen and you might give up sometimes, just keep going, trust the process. Because everybody once was a beginner, right? Every expertise in their own field was once a beginner and once faced these kind of situations. But how to improve it? So this is, so we saw the foundation, right? The fundamentals. So how do you improve from there? So I'll just tell you what I personally followed. So just take it like if it can be useful for you. Like, not everybody, I'm not telling everybody to do it, but maybe it might be useful for you. So the very first thing is make notes. After all, uh, staying up 20 years of your life, or yeah, 20 years of your life in classroom is not that bad. Making notes, and by notes I actually mean physical notes. So this is something that I do. For example, let's say I'm going to learn HTML.
Shruti, if you don't mind me speaking up here, there's this one experience. I think, first off, how are you? It's been a long time, like around 2 to 3 months after our working together. So,
Yes.
guys, here, just to tell you people one thing, right? Experiences suck, right? But they also teach you a lot, and that can be also shown by our own example, which I think Shruti would be better in narrating, as she's very good in, in speaking, as you already have seen right now. Our experience, we together worked on a project, and our experiences had waves of emotions that fluctuated within even hours and minutes, right? So, one thing that you learn from these things is that nothing is permanent. The only thing that is permanent is the website that you create and host it. Even that thing also will have a price after which it gets expired. So, never get demotivated and also never stop learning. That is one suggestion that I really wanted to give, because I know there are many points to talk about, but one thing that we have to specifically mention it for you people is, don't take these to be similar to your JE exams, because this is nowhere near that. Corporate doesn't work like your examinations. It's not like you learn one thing perfectly and you'll be able to use it. Every time your implementation changes, the way that you use it changes. And even things that you learned for a very long time, you may be learning it for 3 months continuous or 3 years continuous. Finally, some other person does it in like 2 lines of code, what you have been doing in 20 lines. The pain and the happiness that you get, one side you'll be crying and the other side you'll be smiling, right? So these experiences are something which you will be facing in developers world. And one personal suggestion is always keep depression pills nearby. So for something to motivate you, or suggestion is to have glucose tablets. That'll really help you. And also to emphasize on one more thing, web development is one of the easiest pathways to actually go into development arena. One of the easiest and one of the highest earning packages as of now. Not sure how much this recession is going to change it, but I think it will also remain the same for at least like another 5 to 6 years, right? And so one thing I would definitely like to see from people here is that after listening to Shruti's suggestions, really, is to follow it. Listening right now and then finally saying, okay, yeah, now I watched a motivation video. Let's go back to other Instagram shorts, or what do you call it? I don't know what you do, Instagram shorts or something. Please don't do that, because motivational videos also serve a similar purpose as we are doing right now, except that ours is more realistic than those videos, because here there's no Andrew Tate. It's all developers, it's all people within our own age range that we'll be teaching. Yeah, see, reality hits hard. Okay, there are some concepts that we need to go. Reality is always hard, and traversing through that is how our life proceeds. There is no stop here. It's just a continuous flowing river, and how you navigate through it is your experiences, right? And now Shruti will take over and also share her experience, which I think would enlighten a bit more before we proceed forward. I hope that's fine with you, Shruti.
Yes, yes, Ritvik. Oh my God. I think you just pulled me back into that timeline. So I just got all this. I remember, staying up all night. I don't know for how many days, but that happens a lot, right? So
Yeah.
Ritvik is absolutely correct when when he told about take these suggestions, because this is actually coming from real experiences, from me, from Ritvik. This is coming from real experiences. We also call it pain, but it comes from somewhere, right? So my experience, I think even for the interview, I think I had to go through so much, because we were given assignments, I guess. So those assignments again, uh, it should be done within just few hours, but naturally, actually, you need at least 2 days to do that. So in that case, I think that's when I knew what I have gotten into. But I was so ready for it, because only those kind of experiences will actually push you up, sometimes, because that is the point where I was also demotivated, right? So it kind of pushed me up, and I took the challenge. I made it. I got in, and it was an interesting experience. One day we might not have much things to do, but on the other day we have like tons of things, and then we have to suddenly change something that we have been working on. You get that often, like now that I'm into product designing again, like that's also something that I'm doing. I know now, I understand that side of it, but the design, it keeps changing, the requirement, it keeps changing, so you have to be ready for it. Sometimes you might not know few things, and you have to be ready to learn. I don't think i don't think anybody can learn development completely. Okay, so even if you get a job, even at fang companies, the learning path, it continues, because it keeps evolving. New features comes up, everything comes up, right? So it keeps evolving, the competition goes up, so you have to upskill yourself, you have to keep learning. I think that is something that I learned from that experience, that it is a never ending process. Learning, it's going to be there, it's going to be there with you till you take this. So yeah, that is all, Ritvik. I think we don't want to depress any kind of other things. But yes, so okay, let me again continue, resume my presentation. Hopefully it's not too boring. uh, Try to take notes, it might help you. Okay. Okay, so how to make it better? How to make your retention better, as in your memory power taking it. So the first thing that I personally do, I make notes. For example, if I want to learn HTML, right? I actually go buy a separate notebook in order just to learn that language, just to learn HTML. So I get that neatly. I used to, not like the ones that you see online or YouTube, the ones that use highlighters, not that kind. I'm not used to that, but I get it. So whatever I'm learning, for example, let's say I'm learning uh, something about elements, then I write elements, and I write the syntax, and in my own words that I understand. It could be, English or my mother tongue. So with my own language, I explain it over there, right? So that is how I learn. So now what I have is I have this set of notes which I can refer to whenever I want, right? And you not only have that notes, you have actually handwritten it. So it's scientifically proven that whatever you write, that is going to go into your mind, I would say, pretty efficiently. So writing, that really helps. So not just coding. Yeah, maybe try to do that. It worked for me. So now you have this notes. So what to do with that notes? Revise regularly. So I'm not if you're from school, you might have heard this, I don't know, 1,000 times. Write notes, revise it, write notes, revise it. So I'm not meaning that way. So you write notes in the intention of keeping it over there, in the intention of keeping it in your mind. And now when it comes to revision, you don't have to revise like how you did in school or how you do in college, right? By revision regularly, I mean, let's say you're having one chill day, right? You are not in the mood of practicing or just opening the laptop. What do you do those days? But you want to do something, you want to do something productive. You just take this note, you just take this HTML note, you go through that, all that. You don't have to like revise it. You just read it because it speaks to you, because it is in your language. You read that and you kind of always have that kind of information in your head. So now you're not forgetting it, you're not letting it out. You're like trying to keep it inside, contain it inside. So that is one way, that is one method that I regularly follow. Because for all the interviews that I am attending, right? So doing this, making notes and revising it quite regularly, and by regularly I do that monthly once. I don't do it every week, I do it monthly once. By doing that, what happens is, whenever I am appearing for an interview, okay, I'm not in like a shock state or a freeze state a day before. I am quite confident in myself, because whatever they ask, I'll be able to explain it with my own examples, with my own understanding and all that. So I personally have deep understanding in that one particular subject, right? So it kind of gives me that confidence. So now I can focus on other things. Like I can just revise it once again. I can focus on how do I present myself and things like that. So I think that is also one way that you get internships or you get jobs, right? Your attitude, that is very important again. So you can focus on that before. So, okay, so now you have made notes, now you have revised regularly. What can you do next? Apply. So now should, like, you can ask like, Shruti, you just told us about the practice, about implementation. It's like, yes. By apply, I mean that. So what do we do now? We all have access to the internet, right? We all have access to internet, we all have access to Google. So whenever we are finding a bottleneck, or whenever we are when we have forgotten some syntax or something like that, what we do, we immediately go to Google. We immediately Google it. We go to Stack Overflow. uh, yeah, Stack Overflow is our king or queen, guys. So we go there, we get the information and we put it over here. We don't get the information and type it, we copy and paste it, right? So that's how we mostly do that. And what happens is, when you're appearing for interviews, they might not give you the access to Google, right? So they might not do that. You have to sit in front of them. Being a developer, I've had this one experience. So I have to sit in front of them and I have to develop something that they have just told me to develop. So now I can't refer to Google for syntaxes, I can't refer to anywhere like for structure or anything. All I have to use is my muscle memory, my brain memory, right? So in that case, I think this really helps. Try not to use Google. Okay, you have made notes, you have revised it regularly. Just with your with that kind of memory, with that kind of confidence, you start writing the code, right? I think that is one way you can actually expertise in this field, in the long run at least. Okay, so but yes, everybody refers to Google. I'm not saying don't do that, but this is one efficient way where you can actually kind of improve your memory efficiency in terms of coding. Okay. So I spoke about consistency. I spoke about practicing it regularly, revising it regularly, applying it, and so many of those things. And if you think this is how I'm turning you into, you're wrong. Because no, look, there was this thing called hustle culture, right? So that was going on, like I think a year back, until then. And we were all like kind of attracted to is like, yes, I'm gonna wake up at 4 a.m. I'm gonna, learn this, learn that, and I'm gonna sleep at only 12. 4 hours of sleep is enough for me. I don't need any breaks. I don't need any rest. I don't need anything. All I'm going to do is sit in front of my laptop and code. So that was me at one point. And to look back, within 2 months of time, I got burnt out. Okay. I did not go back there. I did not proceed at all. And I think that kind of pulled me back from my efficiency, my full capacity. So I will never recommend this toxic hustle culture. Practice it regularly. Take 1 to 2 hours per day. Or if you want to do it like twice or once in 2 days or once in 3 days, 3 days is quite long, but once in 2 days and all that, I think that is quite healthy. So take breaks, it exists, right? uh, Even if you take breaks, you might get burnt out. You might, again, like Ritvik said, you might feel demotivated and all that, but keep going, because trust the process. That's everything that I could say. Trust the process, keep going. Okay, so enough about this tech study methodology. I hope you have got at least 1% of information from me that you could follow in your future uh, web development studies and all that. Not future, I think present. You're doing it right now, so I think you take at least 1% of that. And with that, I'm going to stop with tech study methodologies. Next, let's talk about web development roadmap. So this is not going to go very deeply because it depends on person to person. So it depends on what their interest is. It depends on what kind of projects they want to work on or things like that. So I'm just going to give you a very, I would say, a foundation level idea of where to start and how to proceed with it. Okay. Now, before going into all that, there are people who have asked me, right? Should we, like, we are talking about development. Development is not just about code, it's also about what you see. So for those of you who have come across like human computer interaction or any kind of designing things, you might ask me like, does it really matter, right? For developers, does it really matter? Like, for example, let's say you're seeing the screen. So it's quite simple, neat. There is this text element, gradient and all that. Now let me shift it, right? It is the same thing, but you see there is a picture behind. Okay. And then you see there's no grading at all. It's just plain white text over here, but I applied some animations to it to look it like I'm typing it. And that is quite interesting when you see it, as a user, from user's point of view. This is quite interesting. So I'm not going to go deep into designing and all. uh, as we were talking about development, I thought, why not just share it? Just keep designing in mind as well as you develop your applications. So now, coming to the first thing, the obvious thing, front end. So what is, I mean, web development we can actually divide into three, I think so. First is front end development, back end development, and then you have full stack development. So according to my knowledge, I think many of the people will prefer front end development first, including myself. So that is why I had to, I can talk right now. So including myself, I chose front end developments because it was like one easy way of getting into web development, right? You study HTML, CSS, and all that, and it just quite excites you. You see the colors in front. You see things happening in front of your eyes on your desktop. Back in that, I don't think you can see it like you actually see it. So that kind of rewarding feeling you get it in the front end. So many people start here, but as you go deeper into web development, I know many people who are full stack developers. That is, they are both front end and back end developers. All right. So now, coming to front end development, the very basic part is obviously what I just told, right? It's HTML, CSS, and then JavaScript, like that is everything. Because you yes, HTML is like the building block. CSS, it gives a little bit of spark to it. But JavaScript, everything that you see online in front of your eyes, that kind of moves, the way it looks, the UI and all that, that I think JavaScript, it really enhances it. You might have even watched this advertisement, like it makes like some kind of, like I think 98% of development or something like that. So JavaScript, it is really in demand kind of a language, and it is also a must. If you're a front-end developer, JavaScript is must. But now JavaScript, it's just not JavaScript. So once you learn JavaScript, you can also learn the frameworks, right? So what are the JavaScript, some of the popular JavaScript frameworks? That is okay, it happens again. I'm very sorry. The first thing is AngularJS. The second part is React. So me personally, I kind of liked React much more. So that is why I had to go with it. And this is also the Vue.js. So these are the kind of frameworks that you can follow or you can study after studying JavaScript. And even for CSS, you have this thing called Bootstrap. Honestly, the lifesaver, because it just makes, again, it gives even more sparkles on what is already there. So Bootstraps, you can learn that as well. Now, coming to backend. Backend, so I'm not the expertise over there. I'm just going to be very honest with you, because I don't want to give any false information. But as long as my knowledge, because being a front end developer, you also need to have back end development knowledge, right? You don't have to know how to code, but you need to know what happens there, and how you can kind of integrate it and things like that. So that kind of knowledge is necessary. So I'm just going to share that knowledge. So for backend, what kind of languages you use? People use I think, yeah, people use Python, then people use Java, people use PHP. So PHP was something that was being used very, very intensively few years back, and then came Java. Java, it's okay, but the runtime, it takes a lot more. So people won't prefer Java much, but the, how do I say, the operation, or let's say the performance is better there. Python, if you're dealing with a lot of data, right? If your application is going to be data driven, then most of the people will prefer Python. So these are the how do I say, very famous for that one. And then of course there's Node.js. How did I even forget that? There's Node.js as well, right? So according to your application and according to what you're interested in, you choose this. So that's how it's going to be. So I yes, I do know Python and Java, but in terms of web development backend, I was not pretty sure about it. So whatever works for you, and each company differs. For example, me and Ritvik were working in a company that is IIT, so they used Python, right? So we had to kind of know the knowledge of Python. So if you were going to go for backend, then you should be expertise over there. So if you know Java, if you're expert as well, that won't be useful there. So it depends on organization as well. So you have to choose it wisely. And then coming to server side setup. So as you, if you are a backend developer, right, you have to know about databases like SQL, NoSQL, MongoDB, and all that. So just knowing about that and knowing to implement, you are going to deal with database. That's pretty much it. So you have to know about it. So explore it, explore which works for you, which kind of database works for your application that you're trying to build, or just as for you as a developer, right? And you choose one and you learn that as well. So not only the database, we also have GitHub. I feel very not bad, but let me be honest with you, I did not actually use GitHub, uh, I think till 2021 end. So I did not use that. It could be the lack of awareness. The place that I'm coming from, it could be the lack of awareness. But I think as a developer, if you do not use this, you are really missing out on the real opportunities. So whatever you develop, whatever it might be, even a very small application, you try to use GitHub. You push your code over there. You increase your repository counts, right? You just make yourself this person, to the recruiters, I'm saying, at least to the recruiters, or if you want to go for freelancing for your clients, make yourself as this person who's expertise in this, and become the expertise. That's also there. But use GitHub very regularly. So I personally used both IntelliJ and VS Code. So there's this version control. It kind of, I wouldn't say it didn't differ much, but the techniques, it kind of, it differed. So initially I thought GitHub, it's only for like uploading things, but it's not like that. I hope winter school is teaching you all that, right? I think it's GitHub is there. So learn it better. GitHub is must, not only for the developers but also for whoever is learning data structures. Now we come back to the last three questions. So should I learn front end or back end or both? It truly depends on you. For example, I like to see whatever things that's on the screen, right? And I was also I was quite okay with the front end part of it. I was not so much on the back end, and I accept that that doesn't work for me. I'm pretty sure if I try it will, but it was not my kind of a thing, so I did not go there. So I just focus on front end. If you are a person who likes front end, kudos to that. If you're a person who's like the back end one, those who you see all these reels with all the green color, the coding stuff. So if you are that kind of a person, I think back end will be okay for you. And then both, I think after a certain period of time, this is a personal suggestion. If you're going into web development, I would suggest you to become a full stack developer, because not only the, like Ritvik said, the recession is happening. The job opportunities are also there, right? It is there, but the competition is even higher, right? Because it is quite easy to get in. There's a much high competition. So you really have to prove yourself. So becoming a full stack will serve you in the long run, I'm saying. Should I worry about the design? I mean, if you are going to work in a company where they have a dedicated product designer, then you don't have to worry about design at all, because development, as from my point of view, it is binary. Either you get it or you don't get it, right? So if you don't get it, you work on it and you get it. So that's how it's going to work in the development part. And if you focus on that, on problem solving and all that, it's going to be much okay, in fact great. But if you're going to be a freelancer, I think now you have to deal with clients who also expect you to be a good designer, right? Because no matter how well your application works, the way it looks, it really matters. So it might be the best application that you have ever made, or anyone has ever made in the mankind history. But if the design doesn't look good, nobody's going to use it, and that's the reality. So then you have to worry about the design. What are the opportunities? um, Even now, when you just search software engineering opportunities, you will definitely see web development in the top 5. And when you search for something like what is the top salary for so and so for software engineers and developers, you see web development over there. So the opportunities are there, and it's only increasing because all of us are using laptops, all of us are using computers now. So it's needed. I mean, from my perspective, it's not going to die anytime soon. It's going to be there for so many years. So there are opportunities, but you have to grab it. So either you go for big MNC companies, or you go work for startups are a great way to upskill your skill, by the way. And if you're going for freelancing, that is also, there's like so many freelancing opportunities over there. So those are the kind of opportunities. So that kind of brings me to the end of the session. Uh, so you would have heard so many things from me. Maybe I was quite boring, maybe because this topic is like that. You might already know few things and maybe related to my experiences or to whatever I said. So yeah, if I have to give out one final thing, that would be just keep going. Keep going, trust the process, because if you really believe you're meant to do this, and I mean, what is stopping you? Just keep going, no matter wherever you stop, or whatever bottlenecks that you face, or all that, you will overcome. Okay, you will learn to overcome, and you're going to be a great developer. And I really really wish you the luck for that, sincerely. So thank you everyone for patiently listening to me, and thank you again, GDSC and IT. uh, Guys, you're doing amazing. So keep doing that. You're inspiring many people. So yes, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Ritvik. Thank you, Ananya. And thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shruti, for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining us here today. And it was a great session. It was very insightful, and I hope it will be helpful to our audience who are watching this right now and many others who will watch it later. So, thank you very much. And if you have any questions right now, you can post in the live chat so that we can ask her. We'll be waiting for like 2 more minutes. So, any questions, please post in the live chat, guys.
So guys, feel free to ask any question that you have. You don't need to be shy from us. This is a time where we all come together and clear our doubts. We are just as confused as you are, just a little bit more ahead of the curve. That's it. So we are not experts here. All of us are here to learn, and we'll definitely try and clarify your doubts if you have any. So, yeah. And also, thanks a lot, Shruti, for actually taking this session right after your exams. I know you really wanted to sleep today, but we but we forced you to come here, and really sorry for that. And
No, no, no. This was worth more than that. You know.
that is the level of enthusiasm I want to see in every single winter school participant. Keep sleep aside and start learning, because you're going
Yes.
to need it in another year. Trust me. With the way market is going right now, you're going to need it.
Yeah. Right. Like Ritvik said, yes, guys, like we are no experts, like we are students ourselves, right? And just consider us as seniors who are giving you some inputs that we have learned. That's it. So if you have any doubts, just ask me.
Uh, is it okay if I ask one?
Yes, yes. Actually, I did not pronounce your name because I didn't know how to pronounce your name. Is it Mamur?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
Mamur.
yeah. So, like I myself, I'm really interested in like the front end technology side. So, like sympathize with you there. When you said React was your go-to preferable framework, like yeah, same, same with me. So I wanted to ask, like, looking at the different frameworks that are up and coming, what would your suggestion would be to the like Astro, Quick Dev, and different other frameworks? What would your suggestion be? How to be framework agnostic, coming out of that? How would you suggest people to approach that?
Yeah, actually, it's nice that you brought up Astro, because that was interesting when I first heard it. Right, like it's like Magic Land, but for front end developers. I was like, what is it really possible? So yeah, like I think it's just going to see. We cannot determine anything now. Let it be React. React is great now. Maybe Astro will be the number one tomorrow. We will never know. But if it works for us, for example, like React worked for me, right?
Hmm,
I did try other things, but it was not my calling. I didn't even feel that.
exactly.
Yeah, I had this level of trust on React. Yes, we can't just jump into something just because we like it. We also have to see the future aspect. So I did some research, and that's how I got into React. I think Astro is something that I'm going to explore it next. Many people who are watching here, I think you have to too. Mamu, like, can you give me a very short description of Astro to the people who are watching?
So, uh, like, uh, in on the technical side of things, React uses JavaScript to like handle both HTML and CSS. But what like many times what we want to do is not exactly like we don't want the entire feature set of React. So we want like a negotiation between like how can I make my project smaller and quicker while leveraging the amazingness of React. So somewhere along the middle there is Astro, which like is a perfect handshake between those two sides. It's like React people love it, and then the like bundler people who don't want bundles they love it. So like the minimalistic sort of thing. It's more like the feeling that we get while using Astro. It's not like the technical side. So yeah, a gist of that is what Astro is. But yeah, so
Yeah,
like
everybody, did you see the light emitting from Mamu's face when he spoke about it? That is the kind of passion or thing that you want to have for development. I think with that you will really go somewhere, up here.
right. Another question that popped up in the chat is like how like you told about how front end would like help the user like you know about front end, but what actually does happen in the back end, and can you explain how we use the back end for our front end? Like how do those two connect?
Yeah. So I'll just give an example, right? So okay, example, your backend, it is completely based on this database. So you're dealing with lot of data. So now your front end, what it has to do, it has to collect the data, right? Now it only doesn't collect the data, but it has to kind of push it to the backend. So you should know, you collect the data, okay, you have it right there, but how do you like take it forward? How do you push it to backend? I think you need to have that knowledge. And doing that, like the backend people will take it from you, okay, you don't have to worry about that, but you
Yeah,
know where to keep it, where to give it to them. I think that kind of knowledge you need to have as a front end developer.
right. I'll look at the chat once again. Yeah, I don't see a question related to like web dev specifically. Uh, not trained for the situation. Wait, I see no other questions coming up. Can we wrap the session now?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Shruti. Uh, we'll see you later.
Yes, thank
Thanks a
you.
lot. Thanks a lot, Sudhi.
Thank you, Ritvik. Thank you, Ananya. Thank you, everyone. Bye
Thank
bye.
you,
Take care.
Shruti.
Bye. Bye.
Happy holidays, everyone.